You ever hear a suitcase say goodbye? Because mine did. Didn't shout, didn't plead, just sat there by the door like it knew the truth before I did. Quiet, upright, zipped shut like a secret. It was a Wednesday. Always is, isn't it? Nothing dramatic ever starts on a Friday. Wednesdays are honest. Predictable. Like I used to be. Let's take a break, she said. That was her opener. No prelude. No warning. Just that sentence hanging in the air like a guillotine made of yoga-scented detachment. Her arms were crossed. Her voice? Business casual. Like she was firing an intern, not dissolving a 14-year marriage. I didn't ask why. Not because I didn't want to know, because I already knew. A man doesn't live in a house for over a decade without hearing its heartbeat go cold. You start noticing things. Things that don't make noise. Like the way she stopped leaving hairpins on the bathroom sink. Or how she'd come home and lock her phone like it contained state secrets. Or how her eyes never quite landed on you anymore. They just sort of hovered near your silhouette and then kept moving. But still, I played dumb. Because dumb was safer. Okay, I said. And I meant it. I nodded like a guy who just got a weather update. Rain coming. Dress appropriately. She blinked, like she didn't expect that response. Like she wanted to fight. Tears. Fireworks. Something messy to wrap her guilt in. Instead, I picked up my suitcase, already packed, mind you. Because yeah, I'd learned to expect moments like this. Quiet detonations dressed as conversations. She didn't need to ask me to leave. That bag had been waiting for its cue. On the way out, I caught my reflection in the mirror by the door. Same guy I'd always been. Tired around the eyes. Bit of stubble. Still folding my socks and checking the thermostat before bed. The kind of man you marry when you're tired of chasing mystery and want something that sounds like safety. The problem? Mystery came knocking again, and she answered. That night, I stayed in a motel off the highway, the kind that charges by the hour but pretends it's classy by giving you complimentary mints you wouldn't feed a raccoon. The air smelled like bleach and old gum. Perfect. I stared at the popcorn ceiling until my eyes watered. Not because I was crying, but because even my tears had packed up and left weeks ago. Then came the real kicker. 3 days later, I stopped by the house to grab my winter coat. It was snowing, and I'd been too proud to check the forecast. I unlocked the door and walked in quietly, half hoping she wasn't home. Half hoping she was, just so I could pretend to be surprised. She wasn't there, but someone else had been. 2 wine glasses drying on the counter. One with lipstick. Not hers. I knew the shade. Hers was soft pink, like rose water. This was bold. Burgundy. And she hadn't worn lipstick in weeks. That's when the timeline clicked. The break wasn't a pause. It was a curtain drop. I wasn't on hold. I'd been written out of the script. And whoever she replaced me with, he didn't fold his socks. The next time I heard her voice, it wasn't in person. It was through the hallway speaker of my son's baby monitor. Yeah, I still had it. Call it sentimentality, or just me forgetting to box it up. But that night, in the little 2-bedroom rental I'd found, I plugged it in for no reason other than habit. It crackled to life around 11:43 p.m. He won't even know? He never notices anything. Her voice, whispered, confident. Then a man's voice, low, laughing. You're sure? Of course, she said. He folds his socks. I froze. That sentence again. She used to say it lovingly, back when domestic routines felt like vows. Like my sock folding was some charming little detail that made me hers. Now, it was a punchline. There was a pause, then the unmistakable sound of lips meeting. And then, laughter. That warm, familiar, soft lantern laugh I hadn't heard in months. The laugh I thought she'd retired. She hadn't. She'd just loaned it to someone new. I unplugged the monitor and sat in the dark. Not angry. Not crying. Just empty. Like someone had gone through my memories with a Sharpie and scribbled over every warm detail. Suddenly, every holiday card, every date night selfie, every ordinary Tuesday now came with a footnote. This wasn't real. She had a plan. The next morning, I called her. I didn't yell. Didn't accuse. Just asked if we could meet. Sure, she said, like I was a contractor coming to fix a loose cabinet. We met at a local diner. Neutral ground. She wore makeup. More than usual. Perfume I didn't recognize. Her phone was face down on the table, buzzing twice during our 10-minute wait for coffee. She didn't check it once. You wanted to talk? She said, stirring sugar into a drink she used to take black. I nodded. I wanted to know when you stopped loving me. She didn't flinch. Just blew on her coffee. That's a heavy question for 9 a.m. I figured it's lighter than the lie you've been living. She glanced toward the window. You're being dramatic. And you're being practiced, I said. I'm not here for an apology. I'm here for clarity. Another pause. Then, she said it. I think I stopped the day you forgot my birthday. My head tilted slightly. I didn't forget. I was at the hospital with my dad. She shrugged. It's always something with you. I stared at her for a long time. Not at the woman I married, but at the one she'd become. Cold, polished, convincing. And I realized something strange. She wasn't ashamed. She was bored of pretending to be. Back in the parking lot, I didn't drive away immediately. I sat there as a gray sedan pulled up behind her car. The passenger window rolled down. A hand reached out, waved. She got in. Didn't look back. Didn't notice I was still there. Didn't care. I didn't tail them. Didn't need to. The hotel app on her old phone account still pinged me with reward notifications. Guess she forgot I was the one who set it up years ago. Her name was attached to the reservation. Room 604. A suite. I screenshotted it. Not for revenge. Not yet. But because there's something dangerous about a man who watches. Who listens. Who collects. You might think he's the boring one. But sometimes, he's the one writing the ending. You ever realize you're not just being betrayed? You're being underestimated? That was me. The man who folds socks. Who loads the dishwasher by brand and color. Who buys the same cereal every week and still double-checks the garage door every night before bed. A predictable man. A man she thought could be replaced with a smirk and a cologne sample. She forgot something, though. I notice patterns. I solve puzzles. I can read the temperature of a room by how long someone hesitates before answering, and I always know when I've been dismissed. So when she handed me the breakup script wrapped in self-discovery buzzwords, I nodded. And when she left her login to the hotel rewards app active, I didn't disable it. I just watched. The next ping came on a Friday. Same hotel. Room 418 this time. Different check-in name. Camilla H. Cute. She was getting creative. I didn't go. I didn't need to. Instead, I called a friend. Ben, real estate agent. Owed me a favor from years back when I helped him out of a tax mess. You still have access to the building schematics for the courtyard by the plaza? I asked. Are you about to do something illegal? Nope, I said. Just something clever. He laughed. The dangerous kind of clever. I'll email them. That weekend, I didn't mope. I renovated. Took down every photo from the walls. Removed the framed quote she loved. In this house, we do second chances. Replaced it with one I designed myself. In this house, we know better now. I boxed up all her books, but left one on the shelf. Attached. The one she never finished, but always quoted like gospel. Then I made two other moves. First, I changed my will. Quietly. Legally. Strategically. Second, I installed a motion-activated camera inside the entryway photo frame. Not because I was paranoid. Because I was done being surprised. She had built a whole new life in my absence. Good for her. What she didn't know was, I'd been doing the same. Just without the parade. A week later, she messaged me. Hey, could I swing by this week to grab my white coat and the mixer? You mean the coat you wore to your conference in Chicago? And the mixer you used once, just long enough to film a baking reel with him on your stories? Sure, I texted back. Wednesday work. I was home when she came by. Didn't tell her that. Just watched from the upstairs hallway cam. She let herself in with the key I forgot to cancel. She walked straight past the shelf, didn't notice the missing photos. Didn't notice the quote change. Didn't want to. She grabbed the mixer, opened the hall closet, and froze. I had left the coat. All right. On a hanger, beside a sheet of paper taped to the door. Just one sentence on it. For the record, I always knew you were cheating. She stared at it for a long time. Then she looked around. Slowly. It's funny. The moment someone realizes they're not in control anymore, it humbles them faster than any apology ever could. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stood there. Then she left. Coat in hand. Mixer forgotten. That night, I didn't drink. I didn't even celebrate. I just sat down, made a spreadsheet, and titled it, Everything She Left Behind. People grieve in different ways. Some cry into couch cushions. Some smash dishes. Some text their ex at 1:47 a.m. with typos, and just one more question. Me? I opened Excel. Call it boring, call it therapeutic, call it whatever you want. But the day after she left with the coat and forgot the mixer, I sat at my desk and started cataloging everything she'd left behind. It wasn't just stuff. It was evidence. Physical memories with price tags and timestamps. I wasn't trying to be petty. I was being precise. Column A, item name. Column B, original location. Column C, who paid for it. Column D, sentimental value, 1 to 10. Column E, reason it's staying with me. First row, Dutch oven, red, look cruise it. Kitchen cabinet, wedding registry, paid for by my cousin Matt. He was furious she cheated, by the way. Sentimental value, 7. Reason it's staying, because she said, don't be weird, I never use it anyway. And I like slow cooking revenge chili now. Next, coffee mug wife. Mom. Boss. She left it by the sink. Lipstick faded. Smelled like stale espresso and lies. Sentimental value, 2. Reason it's staying, because it makes me laugh every time I see it. I renamed it the CEO of Gaslighting Cup. Then came the big-ticket stuff. The gray velvet couch she had to have. The bookcase I built from scratch. The Bluetooth speaker she swore she needed for guided meditation, but actually used to blast bad pop songs with him. Each line added something back to me. A sliver of control. A sense of authorship over a story I didn't write, but could at least edit. Somewhere around line 58, I hit the entry that made me pause. Item name, framed photo, Iceland trip, 2018. We were on that cliff where she pretended to be terrified, but it was just for the photo. The truth is, she liked pretending to be small and fragile when cameras were on. Off camera, different story. I remember the look she gave me after that photo was taken. Not the kind that says, I love you. No, it was more like, you're useful. That photo stayed on our nightstand for 4 years. I used to think it was her favorite. Now, sentimental value, 0. Reason it's staying, as evidence. To remind myself what performance looks like. By the time I hit 100 rows, something shifted. The spreadsheet wasn't just a list anymore. It was a map. A forensic reconstruction of a marriage. From first date concert teas to anniversary gifts unopened, I could see the arc of us. The buildup. The decline. The moment she stopped calling me babe and started calling me you. I backed it up to a hard drive. Printed 2 copies. One for me. One for my lawyer. A few days later, she texted again. Hey, would it be okay if I came by and got the black heels from the hall closet? You mean the ones you wore the night you had dinner with a friend from yoga and came home with someone else's cologne on your wrist? Sure. Come right ahead. I put the heels in a box. On top, I added a printout of one spreadsheet row. Item name, Jimmy Choo Stilettos, black. Paid for by me, anniversary 11. Sentimental value, -5. Reason it's leaving, because I don't want anything in this house that walked willingly into someone else's bed. Taped the note right to the box. When she came by, I didn't greet her. Just left the box on the front porch. She didn't knock. Didn't text again. But the camera in the doorbell caught it the moment she saw the note. She didn't react, not at first. Then she smirked. The same smirk she used when she thought she had the upper hand. The one that said, I still win. But here's the thing she never understood. You don't win just because someone doesn't yell. Sometimes, silence is the strategy. A week passed. Then 2. I heard from mutuals that things weren't going well in paradise. Apparently, he wasn't quite as charming when the rent was split, the dishes were dirty, and she had to explain why the ex she left was no longer rolling over quietly. Apparently, I was being difficult. Apparently, I changed. No, I just finally matched the energy. Then came the twist I didn't expect. An envelope in my mailbox. No name on the front. No return address. Inside, a USB drive. And a sticky note. I thought you should see this. You deserve better. Typed. Anonymous. Look, I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but when you're the guy who folds socks and keeps track of credit card statements from 2015, you learn to trust your instincts. I plugged the drive into my laptop like I was disarming a bomb. It was a folder. Camilla_H. Hotel room 418. Security cam.mp4. Oh, so someone at the hotel had taken notice. I watched the clip once. That was enough. There she was, my ex, laughing in a robe, pouring wine, dancing in front of the window while a man I'd never seen before walked up behind her. Not the guy I knew about. A new one. What can I say? She's an overachiever. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I didn't even screenshot it. I just added a row to the spreadsheet. Item name, emotional closure. Location, flash drive. Paid for by whoever had the moral backbone to send it. Sentimental value, 10. Reason it's staying with me, Because now, I don't need explanations. I have proof. Some men flip tables. Some write country songs. Me? I booked a storage unit. That's how you know it's serious. Nothing says this is over, quite like standing in a 10 by 10 corrugated metal cube and whispering to yourself, this is where I'll rebuild. Not metaphorically. Literally. I brought the couch, the armchair, my books. Even the good whiskey she said smelled like Grandpa. The plan wasn't to live out of a storage unit, though I'll admit, there was a weird piece to it. No noise. No perfume-clouded air. No half-arguments under your breath while folding laundry. Just space. And silence. The kind of silence you can breathe in. I called it the archive. Not because it was a shrine to my past, but because I was preserving the truth. Her version of events was already out in the wild. We just drifted. He stopped trying. I needed to feel alive again. Cute. Digestible. Utter fiction. But in the archive, I had receipts. Literal ones. I started organizing everything. Notes, screenshots, financial statements, camera footage. Her anonymous hotel video. Thank you, mystery justice warrior. Even audio logs I made on my phone at night, piecing together the timelines out loud so I wouldn't forget the order of betrayal. Yeah, I know how that sounds. But this wasn't a revenge fantasy. This was documentation. For the moment the narrative tried to spin again. For the inevitable day when she'd show up, eyes glossy, saying things like, I just got lost for a while, or, you know it wasn't all bad, or the classic, can we talk? Because eventually, they all want to talk. That day came sooner than expected. 2 weeks after the storage unit was full, I got a text. Hey, can we talk? Of course, but on my terms. I invited her to meet me at a coffee shop halfway between her new place and the archive. Neutral ground. Bright lighting. No wine to dull the truth. She showed up in heels. Always a sign she wanted control. She wore the same perfume she wore on our honeymoon. Now it just smelled like strategy. Thanks for meeting me, she said, sliding into the booth like we were old friends. I nodded. No smile. Just polite indifference. She leaned in. Look, I know things got complicated. And I probably handled some things poorly. I almost laughed. Some things. But I let her continue. I'm not here to rehash everything. She hesitated. I wanted to see if we could have some kind of closure. Maybe figure out how to. I don't know, be civil. Closure, I repeated, like it was a new word. She nodded. We were a big part of each other's lives, Logan. I don't want to pretend we never existed. Sure, I said. So let's talk about what existed. She blinked. What? I slid a small USB drive across the table. Black. Unmarked. She stared at it like it might explode. What's this? Everything you've forgotten, I said. Or chosen to. She didn't touch it. Just leaned back and crossed her arms. Are you recording this? I shook my head. No need. I already have what I need. Her eyes narrowed. What are you trying to do here? Blackmail me? No, I said calm. I'm offering you a rare gift, the truth. Undeniable, organized, time-stamped truth. And a chance to walk away clean. She scoffed. Walk away? From what? That was my cue. I pulled out a small manila envelope and placed it on the table beside the USB. Divorce paperwork. Already signed on my end. Her hand hovered near it, then dropped. Wait, I thought you weren't rushing. I'm not rushing, I said. I'm finishing. She looked stunned. She wasn't used to me steering the conversation. Not anymore. I'm not asking for anything crazy, I added. No alimony. No shared assets. I've already listed what I'm keeping. You take what you want. I don't care about the dishes or the painting you bought in Tulum. This is clean. Legal. Final. Her voice cracked slightly. So that's it. You're just walking away. Now I smiled. Just a little. No. I already walked away. You just didn't hear the door close. She didn't sign that day. Of course not. That would have been too easy. Instead, she got flustered. Said she needed to think. That I was being cold. But I knew what was happening. She had expected to control the narrative. Be the tragic heroine in a romance gone stale. Maybe even lure me back eventually, once the shine wore off her new life. You don't walk out on men like me because we're exciting. You do it because we're dependable. And dependable can be hard to replace. So I waited. And then I played my final card. A week later, she held a small get-together at her new place. I knew because I still had access to the guest list platform she used for events. She forgot to remove me. Classic. It wasn't a party. It was a curated exhibition. She wanted to show off her new happy. Her clean apartment. Her new man. Her freedom. She invited mutuals, a few of my old co-workers, even my sister. Bold move. I didn't go, but the archive did. A friend of mine, Ben, the real estate buddy, walked in carrying a sealed envelope. He greeted her with a smile, handed her the envelope, and left without a word. Inside, a neatly printed spreadsheet. Just one page. Title, What You Left Behind. And attached, a photo of the USB placed inside her favorite tea mug, still sitting in the archive. No threats, no notes, no drama, just record keeping. That night, I turned off my phone and watched the rain. She called 8 times. Voicemail full. I never picked up. Peace doesn't arrive with a parade. It shows up like the sound of your own breath in an empty room. No apologies. No final arguments. Just space. Clean, uncluttered space. That's what I found in my new place. It's not much. A modest 2-bedroom with scuffed hardwood and a water heater that sounds like it's fighting a ghost at 3 a.m., but it's mine. No tension hiding in the throw pillows. No mascara streaks on the sink. No scent of someone who loved me less every day and smiled more the better she got at pretending. You'd be amazed how loud peace is after living with polite resentment. She didn't call again. Not after the envelope made its appearance at her curated soiree. I imagine she opened it after everyone left, maybe still wearing that smile she put on for mutual friends, her new boyfriend's arm still warm on the couch. Then she saw the spreadsheet. Saw the title, What You Left Behind. No threats. No ultimatums. Just facts. A manila envelope and a silent ledger of her own choices staring back at her with all the warmth of a tax audit. That was all it took. Not long after, the divorce papers came back, signed. Neatly. No notes. Her signature wasn't shaky. Just quick. Like someone signing off on a return she never really wanted in the first place. I thought I'd feel something when they came in the mail. Triumph. Vindication. Relief. What I felt instead was tired. Tired in a way that settles deep in your bones and sighs without sound. I set the envelope on the kitchen table, poured myself a drink, sat down in the chair no one else had ever occupied. No toast. No victory lap. Just done. Funny how grief doesn't always hit when you expect it. It doesn't kick down the door screaming. Sometimes it slips in while you're folding laundry and realizing there are no stray long hairs on your clothes anymore. No earrings to avoid vacuuming up. No toothbrush beside yours. Grief isn't dramatic. It's logistical. The first time I had company in the new place, it wasn't a date. It was my buddy Nate, dropping off my old toolbox and 3 beers. He took one look at the apartment and said, "Feels like a man lives here who's rebuilding." I chuckled. Feels like a man lives here who's avoiding IKEA. We drank. Watched a game we didn't care about. At one point he said, "You okay, man?" Like, really? I thought about lying. Instead, I answered honestly, "I'm not hurt anymore. Just recalibrating." It's strange how much clarity you get when the noise is gone. The way you start noticing your own patterns. I'd spent years thinking my steadiness was a flaw. That maybe if I had just been more exciting, more chaotic, she'd have stayed. But the truth is, she didn't leave because I folded socks or fixed squeaky doors or always knew when the fridge filter needed replacing. She left because she couldn't stand someone who didn't need fixing. That kind of stability? It unnerved her. She needed chaos to feel alive. So when she couldn't find it in me, she went and created it somewhere else. A few weeks later, I dropped off the last box at the archive. Just a few final trinkets. A candle she never lit. A book she only displayed because it looked smart. A necklace I bought her in Florence that she left behind without a second glance. I set it all on the shelf, labeled the box. Discarded decor, not fragile. Then I locked the unit and stood in the fluorescent hallway for a minute longer than I needed to. Just breathing. Just letting the silence wrap around me like a warm coat. On the drive home, I took a different route. Passed by the old house. The porch lights were off. The grass was a little too perfect. The windows had curtains now, neutral, like hotel rooms. I didn't stop. Didn't slow down. Didn't feel anything. Not anger. Not longing. Just observation. Like seeing a place you used to work, where you gave too much and got too little, and now you can't imagine what kept you there that long. Later that night, I got a message. Unknown number. I saw the spreadsheet. You really kept track of everything. No hello. No name. Just that. I stared at it. Let it sit there blinking on my screen while I finished my tea. Then I typed. Everything worth remembering, yes. She didn't respond. She didn't need to. The next morning, I folded laundry. Put the socks in neat pairs. Not for her. Not for anyone watching. Just because I like order. Like routine. Like knowing that in at least one small corner of the world, things still match. And when I placed the last pair into the drawer, I realized something. I hadn't thought about her in hours. That's healing. Not the dramatic kind. Not the movie montage with sad music and sunsets. Just socks in a drawer. And a silence that finally feels earned. 3 weeks after the papers were finalized, she broke the silence again. It was 2:12 a.m. Because of course it was. You didn't even fight for me. That was the message. No context. No greeting. No punctuation, even. Just the guilt grenade she'd been saving. I stared at it in the dark, thumb hovering over the reply bubble. Felt the old instinct kicking in. Explain. De-escalate. Fix. But that version of me packed up with the last box and left the key on the counter. Instead, I typed, "You already had someone fighting for you. That's why I left." Delivered. Read. No reply. That was the last time she reached out. Now, I hadn't planned on doing anything beyond silence. But then a message came from an unexpected source, her new guy's ex. Yeah, that guy. The discount Adonis. Her name was Rachel. Her message was polite, straightforward. "You don't know me. I was with Jason before your wife was. If you'd like to compare timelines, I think we were both lied to. We met at a diner. I ordered black coffee. She didn't even bother with small talk. Just opened a folder and slid it across the table. Screenshots. Dates. Hotel receipts. Instagram posts. He'd been two-timing them both, maybe more. So he cheated on her too? I asked, not smug, just fascinated. She nodded. She dumped him last week. I let out a short breath. Not a laugh. Not pity. Just the poetic shrug of the universe going, "See? You gonna tell her I told you this?" Rachel asked. "No," I said, folding the folder shut. "She'll figure it out the same way I did." It hit me while brushing my teeth. I hadn't thought about her once the day before. Not during breakfast. Not during my evening walk. Not while laughing at a show she used to hate. Not once did she cross my mind. I had forgotten to remember her. And weirdly, that felt better than any revenge. I moved the box of her last items. Yes, I still had one. Into the furthest back corner of the archive. Labeled it irrelevant. Not cruel. Just accurate. Then I went home and made pancakes. For me. No ceremony. No symbolism. Just because I felt like pancakes. She saw me months later, at the farmer's market. I was holding hands with someone. Someone who laughs without looking over her shoulder. Who doesn't need chaos to feel seen. Someone who folds her own socks and laughs when I still fold mine into thirds. My ex didn't approach. She stood near the citrus stand, pretending to read a price sign. But I saw it. The glance. The pause. The realization. I didn't smile. Didn't wave. Just turned to the woman next to me. Kissed her on the temple. And kept walking. Because here's the thing no one tells you. Real revenge isn't dramatic. It's not slamming doors or savage texts or broken plates. It's living a better life without the person who bet against you. It's peace that doesn't need an audience.